Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this 9-game or 11-game slate, depending on the site you're playing on opening day MLB slate on FanDuel and DraftKings. Excited to have baseball back for sure. The NBA grind catches up to you at some point late in the season, and things are going to get crazy there, and then we finally get some MLB baseball here starting on opening day. I'm recording this on Wednesday, day before opening day, so just keep that in mind if there's any changes or anything along those lines. That's because of when I'm recording. And I will be offering some MLB packages over here on Patreon, just like I do for the NBA. An MLB package where you can get access to my power rankings, my cheat sheet, MLB data sheet, hot hitter StatCast data, splits leaderboard, team hitting data, bullpen data, NBA, and my MLB Discord chat access. A lot of really good stuff. Would highly recommend if you're going to be playing MLB every single day, really grinding out the season. Would highly recommend that because I think I'm going to be able to offer you some very valuable insight as we're breaking down these slates. So just keep in mind the first two games are going to be offered on FanDuel, not on DraftKings. So I'm just going to kind of break them down, and then we'll be talking about some strategies and stuff as we go along here. And as you continue to watch my content, I can definitely help you out with some MLB strategies. But overall, if you've been playing MLB for a while, we're going to be stacking teams, meaning we're going to play 3, 4, 5 hitters depending upon the site you're playing on from one team, and then 3, 4, 5 hitters on another team, along with a pitcher or 2 pitchers. If you're playing on DraftKings, you have 2 pitchers. You also have one more slot, so at the catcher position, which is going to offer that 4 or 5 man stack on DraftKings versus on FanDuel, where you're just going to be able to stack up 4 players apiece. So anyways, with that being said, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, I would greatly appreciate that. And I'll be here all MLB DFS season long, breaking down these slates to help you guys become better MLB DFS players. So with all of that out of the way, excited to start talking about it. Let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. And then don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video where I will be giving you my home run call of the day. Going to be a segment if you watch my NBA content similar to what I do there. Going to give you my top guy that I think is going to hit a home run on this slate. So as always, let's go ahead and sort this sheet by K rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts. Figure out the top pitchers on the slate right now. We have a clear top 3 as far as strikeout rates concerned. We got Garrett Cole, Tyler Glasnow, and Shane Bieber. Of course, Garrett Cole will only be featured on FanDuel if you're playing over there, but 38% K rate, 16.4% swinging strike rate. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's pretty good. Walk rate's great. Against right-handed hitting, he has a 34.9% K rate, and then against lefties, it bumps up to a 41.3% K rate. The hard hit, the ground ball, the fly ball is a little bit rougher against lefties, but overall, it's Garrett Cole, elite pitcher. Going to get a ton of strikeouts out of him, and when he's taken on this Toronto Blue Jays team, they do have a 3.33 implied run total in Yankee Stadium, which isn't exactly the best pitcher's park, but it is only expected to be 54 degrees, so not exactly the hot weather that we're going to be dealing with later on in the season. So if you're playing on FanDuel, Garrett Cole, definitely a great place to start. And looking upon the Blue Jays lineups, guys like Teoscar Hernandez, Lourdes Gurriel, Rowdy Tellez, down here in the 5, 6, 7, 4 range, do strike out a bunch, and then they added Marcus Semien, who's a pretty good hitter overall, Cavan Biggio, but there's some strikeouts to be had there as well. So Garrett Cole definitely making some sense as a pitching play for sure. And then Tyler Glasnow, second guy on the slate, is a 3.12 Sierra, 35.7 K rate against righties. It's a 34.4% K rate. Lefties is a 37.2% K rate. Very solid across the board, and he gets to take on this Miami Marlins squad, which doesn't really scare us. I mean, when you tell the average baseball fan or really anyone out there the Miami Marlins, they know typically they aren't that good. And this was a team that overall last year, while they weren't good, they didn't strike out a ton, and they have added some big bats, but also some strikeouts. So Adam Duvall, Jesus Aguilar, both guys that can definitely hit home runs, but both guys that do strike out their fair share. So I think that this Marlins squad is going to be even better to target from a fantasy aspect this year. So definitely intriguing option in Tyler Glasnow. Have no issues with playing him for sure. Shane Bieber, going to be the top pitching option on the slate, in my opinion, when you factor in matchup and his stuff. Absolute breakout year last year, 33% K rate, a 14.9 swinging strike rate. Against righties, he has a 32.5% K rate. Against lefties, it's a 33.5% K rate. Strikes out both sides of the plate, really dominant. The ground ball and the fly ball stuff's good, and he gets to take on a Detroit Tigers team who is not good at all. Don't scare me I mean, they don't really have... I mean, they made some minor improvements in the offseason, but it's also in Detroit, which is a great pitcher's park. I mean, it's like 410 to straightaway center, 420 to straightaway center. So when you factor in that, you factor in Shane Bieber gets to take on this team. They got Robbie Grossman, Heimer Candelario, Willie Castro, Miguel Cabrera. Even Nomar Mazara was a great add for them, but the strikeout rate's still there for him. A lot of strikeouts to be had in this lineup, and I do think that if I'm having to play one pitcher on FanDuel, if I can fit it in with the bats I like, it would be Shane Bieber. Keeping in mind that that game is not on the slate on DraftKings, so apologies to those playing on DraftKings, not to get your hopes up because you can't play them, unfortunately, but we do have some other solid options as well moving along. And as far as anyone else I'm looking to, Jack Flaherty would be my next option. We do have Yu Darvish taking on Arizona, which is a solid option as well. Based upon his price, when looking at DraftKings, we'll finally look at some DraftKings pricing here to, get a good idea of who we're playing. Yu Darvish at 10-4, priced up the most. We got Aaron Nola at 10-1, Clayton Kershaw at 9-5, Luis Castillo at 9-2, Glasnow at 8-8. A guy that I just talked about that's a great option. I like that price tag quite a bit on DraftKings. And then we'll kind of break down some more guys I'm liking here because, apologies, the Shane Bieber and Garrett Cole, great plays, but you can only play them on FanDuel. So I will say I do like Jack Flaherty quite a bit. And these next three guys, I actually do have quite a bit of interest in Jack Flaherty, Luis Castillo, and Kenta Maeda. My favorite two would be Flaherty and Kenta Maeda based upon the strikeout rate of the opposing team they're taking on. Flaherty has a 29.7% K rate. Against righties, it's a 34.1% K rate. Great ground ball, fly ball, WOBA, hard hit rate, slugging, all the above. And then against lefties, he gets a little bit worse, but he still has this 25.5% K rate. That does dip down quite a bit from the 34.1% K rate against righties, I will mention. And then when looking at the Cincinnati lineup that he's going to be taking on, as far as how many righties and lefties are looking to throw out there, it does look like we have a pretty decent blend, looking like an alternating 1, 2, 3, 4 lefties and 5 righties. So, we'll take what we can with the righties. But pitching in the Great American Small Park at Cincinnati, not the best pitching environment either. However, it is only going to be 40 degrees. Looks like there's 13 miles an hour winds blowing out the straightaway center. But overall, I still do like Jack Flaherty. I think he has some pretty decent strikeout upside. And one guy I think that I'm going to like a lot more than a lot of other people on the slate is going to be Kenta Maeda, taking on this Milwaukee Brewers team that has quite a bit of strikeouts in them. When you look at the lineup up and down, you got guys like Colton Wong, Keston Hiura, Christian Yelich, Travis Shaw, Lorenzo Cain, Jackie Bradley Jr. A guy like Christian Yelich is a scary presence, but he does have a fair amount of strikeouts in his bat. Travis Shaw, a ton of strikeouts in his bat. Keston here, a bunch of strikeouts. So, you got a guy like JBJ who they added who might help their case a little bit at the bottom of the lineup. But overall, I do think there's quite a few strikeouts to be had in this lineup. So Kenta Maeda is a guy I think that could be a contrarian play that other people might be scared off of. That I would definitely have interest in. A 28.6% K rate, a 15.4 swinging strike rate, 34.5% K rate against righties, and a 23.1% K rate against lefties. So I'm definitely going to have some interest in him. And that kind of rounds out my top pitchers on the slate. I always do like to give you guys a few cheapy options that you could take a risk on. And one guy I do think that is an interesting... Well, there's a few guys that are interesting options. The problem is they're taking on teams with high strikeout rates, but they don't strike out anyone. So you're kind of battling with that. First guy as a cheapie I want to mention is Kyle Gibson, taking on the Kansas City Royals. And he has a 21.6% K rate. Great ground ball, fly ball stuff, 51.4%, 23.2% as far as the ground ball and the fly ball rates are concerned. Then you move along to righties. Not the best in the world with a hard contact, but he still does have a 24.7% K rate. Against lefties, it drops down to a 18.4% K rate. So he really does a lot better against righties when it comes to strikeout, and he's taken on quite a few lefties in this Kansas City Royals lineup, unfortunately. They have Andrew Benintendi, Mondesi, Carlos Santana. But even then, with that being said, I said quite a few. They are majority righties when you look at the entire lineup. So the heart of the lineup, you got the 3 lefties he's got to get past. But then once you get down past that, you got Whit Merrifield, Perez, Jorge Soler, Hunter Dozier, Michael Taylor, and there are quite a few strikeouts in the bottom of that order. So Kyle Gibson priced at 6.9 on FanDuel. Over here on DraftKings, we got him priced down to 5.3. I do think that he's an intriguing cheapie option with the amount that this Kansas City Royals team does strike out. There's quite a few strikeouts to go around in that lineup. So even a guy like Alberto Mondesi, who's a speed guy, that you would think would be a contact hitter. Not really much of one. He's got a big strikeout rate, so I have no issues with targeting Kyle Gibson as a risky tournament play. Once again, not one of the top options. We kind of discussed those guys already. And then the other guy I want to mention is going to be Sandy Alcantara taking on this Tampa Bay Rays team. The Tampa Bay Rays, a team that you would typically think you'd be scared of, making it to the World Series. Great team all around, and that's true, but they do have plenty of strikeouts in their lineup. Kind of a lot of boom-bust options, and that's where the intrigue comes in targeting Sandy Alcantara. And then you mentioned the fact that he is pitching in Miami, which traditionally, is a good hitter's park. A good pitcher's park. So, but we'll see with the new facility and stuff that got going on there. We actually got to kind of dig into that a little further. But overall, yeah, Sandy Alcantara just doesn't strike out anyone is the problem. But the Rays have a bunch of strikeouts, so I just think that he could have a bit of a boost and maybe play him on FanDuel. I do think his price is a little bit too much, honestly. Priced up at 8.5. On DraftKings, where he's coming in right now, he's all the way down to 6.5, so it's a little bit more intriguing over there. If you're pairing him up with one of the more elite options that we discussed, like a Yu Darvish or a Luis Castillo, Tyler Glasnow, Flaherty, a Kenta Maeda. Clayton Kershaw is pitching in Coors, so I'm not really going to have a lot of interest in him. Aaron Nola taking on that Atlanta squad that's just stacked, and he's priced at 10-1. Not going to really have a lot of interest in him. So I do have a lot of more interest in the guys priced in this AK range, to be honest with you, as far as where I'm looking on DraftKings. And yeah, so that's an overall breakdown of the top pitchers we're looking to. Let's transition over to some bats. As always, I like to kind of go ahead and sort my sheet by Sierra, skill interactive ERA. It's a good way of determining, how good a pitcher's been overall. It's factoring in their K rate, their ERA, their strikeouts, swinging strike rate, ground ball, fly ball, all the above. You get it, and their walk rates. So, worst pitcher on the slate by far is going to be that in Chad Kuhl taking on the Chicago Cubbies. Chad Kuhl is very bad. The Pittsburgh Pirates pitching staff is very bad because when you factor in that it's opening day and they're throwing their ace out on the mound and it's Chad Kuhl, that's not good. So typically speaking, I would like to target this Chicago Cubs team against Chad Kuhl. The only problem is when you're looking at the weather in Wrigley Field, it does look like there's going to be 16-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from straightaway left. So I do think that's going to be a downgrade as far as hitting is concerned. And then you factor in that it's 36 degrees outside. The ball's not really going to be flying all too well. We're looking to target, warmer areas with wind blowing out. And this has the exact opposite. So you could play the Chicago Cubbies if you want. Chad Kuhl is very bad. Really struggles against right-handed hitting. A little better against lefties, ironically. But still just bad across the board. The problem is the hitting weather, and that's why I'm probably not going to be going to these Cubbies on opening day, personally. Next guy, we got Brad Keller taking on the Texas Rangers. Looking at Brad Keller, pretty bad numbers. The problem is he does have a good ground ball and fly ball rate. Everything else is pretty terrible, but the ground ball and the fly ball allows him to hang in the games. Against righties, he only gives a 357 slugging. And against lefties, he's pretty good in the slugging category as well. So once again, a little bit, when we're targeting these guys in fantasy, we're looking for the big home run balls. So I do think that he's not necessarily the best guy to target with these Texas Rangers bats, and then they only have a 4 implied run total. So can kind of glance over him, I suppose. The one guy that I'm getting excited to target right away is going to be John Means taking on the Boston Red Sox. Looking at John Means' numbers across the board, he has a very terrible ground ball and fly ball rate. Allows a lot of balls to be hit in the air. His walk rate and his hard hit rate's pretty good, though, so it's a little bit controversial. But against right-handed hitting, he gives up a 442 slugging, a 33.1 ground ball rate, 48.7 fly ball rate. That's just not good. And against lefties, he is much better. Of course, he is a lefty on the bump, but more specifically, I do think that these Red Sox bats do have some guys that absolutely mash lefties, and they're going to be at the top of my list on opening day. Enrique Hernandez at the top of the lineup, an absolute lefty masher at 2.7. Love him. JD Martinez, 3.5. Xander Bogaerts, 3.6 on FanDuel. Hunter Renfroe at 2.8. Love all those guys. And as far as their pricing goes on DraftKings, I do think that they're all still going to be guys that I'm looking to. Xander Bogaerts priced up to 5.4. Christian Vasquez priced up as a catcher, unfortunately, but I do think that he's a great option. JD Martinez, 4.3. Bobby Dahlbeck, I do think is a sneaky option that some guys may not even know. And then Hunter Renfroe and Kike Hernandez at 3.2 and 3K are just way too cheap. So definitely going to be playing those guys a bunch on opening day. they're the first stack that I would say, I'm really intrigued to play. Don't forget about Christian Vazquez and Bobby Dahlbeck at the bottom of the order. We've seen Dahlbeck really slug last year against lefties, and Christian Vazquez is a lefty master as well. So factoring in all of these guys, I mean, great stack to go to on opening day, in my opinion. Then you got 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to straight center, right center or so in Fenway. So, yeah, definitely have some interest in that Red Sox stack. Moving further along to guys I want to target. Kyle Gibson, I had mentioned against these Kansas City Royals. Not really someone I'm looking to target all too much, mostly because of his ability to limit the ground ball and the fly balls to left-handed hitters. He still does give up a 466 slugging to lefties, though. So, I mean, take with it what you will. The WOBA's good. The slugging's pretty good, but the ground ball and the fly ball stuff's not the best. And I do prefer to target guys that are giving up the ball through the air a little bit more than him. And speaking of guys that are giving up the ball through the air, Madison Bumgarner is a pitcher that traditionally, at one point he was one of the best pitchers in the league, and now he's just not good anymore. I don't know if the general public knows this, and I'm excited to play some Padres bats against him. Gives up a 35.1 ground ball percentage, 41.6% fly ball rate, a 31.8% hard hit rate. And those are all very, very bad. When you're looking at my sheet, as far as the color-coded data sheet, Madison Bumgarner looks like he could possibly be the worst pitcher on the sheet. And if you say his name to many people that might be casual baseball fans, they think he is still a great pitcher. He's really not that good anymore. So 484 slugging against righties, a 45.7% hard hit rate, a 333 WOBA, a 41.9 fly ball rate, a 34% ground ball rate, just all really bad. The only thing he's got going for him is he doesn't walk anyone, which as far as I'm concerned, that's great because I'll just get my hitters opportunities to hit the baseball. I'll take that any day in fantasy. He is very good against lefties, so we're not going to be playing lefties, but it's the righties that I'm really excited about. And the Padres have some right-handed bats that absolutely mash left-handed pitching, most notably Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado at the top of the lineup. Going to absolutely love both of these guys on opening day. You're going to pay the price tag for them, but for good reason. Both elite hitters and both guys that I'm very excited to play against Mr. Madison Bumgarner. And then you factor in the weather in San Diego. By far the warmest environment right now starting this baseball season on April 1st. Most other places are going to be quite cold. In sunny San Diego, we got 79-degree weather. So you factor in that, and that's just going to make me like these guys even more. Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Tommy Pham, Will Myers are my favorite options for sure. If I were to rank them in order, I mean, Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado, I love both of them. It's kind of hard to distinguish between them. I would prioritize Will Myers over Tommy Pham if I had to pick between the two, just strictly because Will Myers does have a higher ISO against left-handed pitching. A guy that really does succeed against lefties. And looking at their pricing over here on DraftKings, you got Will Myers priced up at 4.7 and Tommy Pham all the way down to 3.1. So there is quite a difference in price on DraftKings. So, I'll kind of eat my words on that. Tommy Pham, of course, is a better bargain over there. However, on FanDuel, if you're playing there, I mean, we're talking a difference of 100, and Will Myers is actually the cheaper of the two, so I would prefer him if I'm having to pick one of those guys. But definitely like the Padres stack. Moving further along to some other bats that I like. I do think that the Baltimore Orioles could be a sneaky stack taking on Anthony Eovaldi. I just talked about how much I like the Red Sox, but Eovaldi has been quite bad as well. Of course, the Orioles don't have the best lineup, but I mean, when you're looking at Eovaldi's numbers over the last 2 years, has really struggled across the board. The ERA has been bad. Hard contact against righties, he's giving a 491 slugging, a 369 WOBA against righties, and then against lefties, he gives up a 500 slugging. That's very bad. So I do think that there's some sneaky plays in tournaments. These Orioles, these guys might not want to be played by other people, but they do have some pretty talented bats, honestly, compared to what they had in years past. The center of the order in Trey Mancini, Anthony Santander, Ryan Mountcastle, they all have some power. So those three guys specifically, I do think that's a very sneaky stack. And then at the bottom of the order, you got Rio Ruiz and Chance Sisco, both lefties, and then Freddie Galvis, a lefty as well. And we just discussed Nathan Eovaldi's struggles against lefties, specifically a 500 slugging. So I think that they're a pretty sneaky stack that's not going to get a lot of ownership, and I would be looking to them on opening day. And then as far as anyone else, of course, we do have to mention Coors Field. I'm kind of reluctant to talk about it because it's just eventually at the end of the year, you'll get so sick and tired about Coors Field because it's just something you have to bring up every single slate. And the best lineup in baseball, the Los Angeles Dodgers, are going to be in Coors Field on opening day. They get to take on German Marquez, mostly a fastball thrower. And this Dodgers lineup definitely has some guys that can rake. So I'm guessing they're going to get quite a bit of ownership on opening day. They have the highest run line, a 6.97 implied run total. You factor in that they're in Coors Field, and you factor in that this Dodgers lineup is just stacked, and it does make sense. Looking specifically at German Marquez's numbers, he is much better against right-handed hitting than he is against lefties. You can see the ground ball, the fly ball, the walk rate, all pretty good against righties. He has a 26.2% K rate. And then against lefties, instead of a 393 slugging, he has a 445 slugging, a 38.9% hard hit rate, a 318 WOBA compared to a 291 WOBA against righties. So we do prefer to target the lefties, and the Dodgers definitely do have some lefties that are good at hitting baseballs far. Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy, Gavin Lux, all the above are going to be great plays. And really anyone in this lineup is going to be a great play because they're in Coors Field. If you're new to fantasy baseball, Coors Field is just a field that's the best hitting environment in baseball because they just have a huge outfield. There's plenty of room for the balls to land. It's pretty good as far as home runs are concerned too, and considering the fact that it's going to be 66 degrees, that's pretty warm compared to the rest of the slate. So you factor in all these things, and the Dodgers definitely make some sense. And you definitely can play some Colorado Rockies bats as well against Clayton Kershaw. One thing Coors Field is also known for is making breaking pitches not break as effectively, and Clayton Kershaw is mostly known for his 12-6 curveball, so that's a problem. You look at his numbers across the board, he is really solid. If you're playing anyone, you're going to be playing the right-handed bats that can really match lefties. And my top options would be Trevor Story and CJ Cron, not even a question. And then you got Elias Diaz in the catcher spot, who actually rakes lefties pretty well as well. So those three guys specifically, I mean, Trevor Story and CJ Cron both match lefties, so I do think that they're maybe sneakier plays than we would typically see, considering that they're taking on Clayton Kershaw. And I'm definitely going to have some interest in them on opening day. And that's a pretty good summary of who we're looking to as far as our stacks, as far as our top pitching options, all the above on opening day. The only thing that I will mention before we go, one more guy I have to mention on my sheet that really sticks out is Matthew Boyd struggles against right-handed hitting. He gets to take on this Cleveland squad. He gives up a 508 slugging to right-handed hitting, a 347 WOBA, 46.1 fly ball rate, 33.4% ground ball rate. Not good. He does have a pretty high strikeout rate and a 28.1% K rate, and he's very good against lefties. A 386 slugging, 33 fly ball, 48.7 ground ball rate. So it's not against the lefties, but the righties, he has some major issues. And the Cleveland Indians have some guys that can really rake against left-handed pitching. Once again, this game's only featured on FanDuel, but most notably, Franmil Reyes, Jordan Luplow in the 4-5 spot. Jose Ramirez has been pretty good against lefties overall. But Franmil Reyes and Jordan Luplow, especially Jordan Luplow's price tag of only 2.2 on FanDuel, I'm sure he's going to be very popular, but for good reason. That's just an easy lock and load. And then Ahmad Rosario is pretty good against lefties as well at the shortstop outfield position. So that 4-5-6 slot right there, and the 3 slot and Jose Ramirez, I would feel pretty good about stacking those guys up if you are indeed playing over there on FanDuel, and that game is featured on the site you're playing on. So that is my overall breakdown of this opening day MLB slate. Before I let you guys go, I got to give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day for opening day is going to be Mr. Manny Machado taking on Madison Bumgarner. I already mentioned his splits earlier on the video. I want to make sure I pick a player that's going to be featured on both slates, the FanDuel and the DraftKings slate. And Manny Machado is going to be indeed. Looking at his numbers against lefties the last few years, they are absolutely absurd. Last year specifically, he had a 264 ISO against lefties. Madison Bumgarner really struggling against righties. Throws a cutter a 34.95% of the time against right-handed hitting and a fastball, and Manny Machado just is going to absolutely crush here. A 929 ISO against that cutter. Looking at his numbers against the fastball, Manny Machado features a 488 ISO against left-handed pitching. So you factor in all of this, you factor in Machado's hitting environment in the warm San Diego compared to the rest of the slate, you factor in that Bumgarner's just really been struggling. I really do like Manny Machado on opening day, and he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Manny Machado, he's my home run call of the day. Going deep, get him in your lineups. And that is all for me for this opening day MLB breakdown video. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. I would greatly appreciate that. And then don't forget to check out my MLB package, link below in the description. I'm going to be launching some more stuff over there as well. As far as MLB, there will be a betting package published soon, as well as a combo package that'll give you access to my betting package and my MLB DFS package. So all of that stuff featured, I think, is going to really help you win some money. Excited that the MLB is back. I wish you guys all the best of luck on opening day, and we will see you in the next one.